Alright, let's see. I want to make sure we get this. Alright, what's up everyone? Hello. This is Power to Survivors. We are live for the first time because we just got our stream permissions and I did want to stream today because of that. We're gonna get into a lot of things, like talking about what this is. What is this? What is Power to Survivors? Why are we here? What is this about? What is going on? Like, there are things that I want to address, and then I want to get into the topic that is Power to Survivors. That is the stream topic of like how we can support survivors. Just give me one moment. I'm going to do one quick thing, and then we'll get started. Okay, so let's get into it. First, I want to make things 100% clear, okay? And that is Power to Survivors. This organization is not affiliated with or related to Alexa NIKOLAS or Eat Predators podcast or anything of the sort. It's not related to any of that. We are completely separate from that, okay? I am my own person, own entity. This has absolutely nothing to do with Alexa NIKOLAS. Okay. It started out that way, but it is not that. So, I just want to do one quick thing. Okay, well, that didn't work. Now, okay, so let's yeah. So to be clear, to be very clear, nothing to do with Eat Predators, nothing to do with Alexa NIKOLAS, no reflection of her views, no reflection of anyone's views. The goal essentially is to build proper safe spaces for us to be able to share our stories and to make sure that the focus remains on the survivors. Period. and to hold everybody accountable and to highlight those kinds of topics and things that kind of come about. So while this did sort of start as adjacent to Alexa and adjacent to Eat Predators, I do want to be clear, this has nothing to do with Alexa or Eat Predators or anything of the sort. Okay? This organization is completely separate from that. So whatever views she might have, whatever things she might say, nothing to do with it. I want this platform to be something that is unique, something that is different, something that is even more than what it could possibly be. We might work with people like Alexa. We might work with people who are able to kind of help us platform and get the word out that we are here. That is completely different, but really that is to ensure that this community can grow beyond that this community can be more than what people might think it is. Right now it's a Discord server. Who knows what it will be in the future. My goals is to make it bigger than it could possibly be. My goals is to grow this thing further than anything that is currently being shared right now. I also want to use this chance to give this channel, this place, to the survivors. My goal is to grow this so that people can feel comfortable coming on here, sharing their stories, if they choose to, without any guilt, without any peer pressure, without anything to do with that. And I think that is how we can support survivors, getting into the topic. How do we support survivors? How can we support survivors? Because we do have the motto here at Power to Survivors that Power to Survivors is giving back the voice to survivors of predatory behavior. And we're building safe spaces, and we're trying to build a world in which we can influence what is happening, what is normal, and ensuring that it does not happen again. I'm even kind of thinking of just removing the Predators announcement, because I think that does make it a little bit confusing. It does seem like we're affiliated with it. I think I'm just going to remove that because I don't want people to think of this brand and then think of this is adjacent to ePredators and adjacent to Alexa NIKOLAS. It has nothing to do with it. Again, nothing to do with it. It just was inspired by that. I made this kind of inspired by the message, the movement. I don't necessarily think that everything is so black and white. I don't necessarily think that anyone's opinion is going to really change this world. I think we have to work together. I think we have to kind of use our resources to what we can do to build this up, to grow this out. So, let's get into it. How can we support survivors? How can we what can we do? What can we do to kind of change the world? That is kind of the question. Also, I'm going to join Discord server. I don't know why there's music. Please don't. Give me no. Shh. I just want there to be kind of an area where people can go to in case they would like to kind of like add to the conversation. So if you are watching live and you're not in the Discord server, join it, because that's where the magic happens. This is currently what we have, and I'm doing everything I can to build this brand. And regardless of what we think, we will have differing opinions on how we can kind of address this. But I always want the focus to go back to the survivors, what they say. Now, we're a small platform. There are things that are going to be very difficult to do without proper resources, without kind of doing what we can to kind of get into the door. And that's kind of the idea. We do want to get into the door of these places. We want to be able to go to conventions. We want to be able to go to the direct sources of where this is happening. And we want to be able to have the conversation of what needs to change so that we can start moving forward. That is the goal, kind of. So instead of canceling the platforms in which we are seeing the problems for, I don't think that would even work. I don't think that would be the most effective. I don't even think boycotting is really an effective way in making the change, because oftentimes they don't really work, because not everyone agrees on how we can do that. And so when we don't all agree, it doesn't really impact the bottom line, not in the way that people think. What I think would be most effective is being able to talk to these organizations, basically showing them the better ways to operate their industries. That is a very scary thing to do. It involves a lot of conversations that I think are very necessary to happen. Conversations that they don't necessarily agree with either. Because basically what it would do is we might have a petition to kind of show these are the people that support the movement, the idea. But petitions don't work unless you actually shove it in the faces of the people who it is meant to be for. And so that's kind of something that I would like to do in terms of like taking the petitions that have been created and actually showing them this is what needs to change. These are the people that agree that this is what needs to change, and this is what needs to happen in order for us to be able to kind of like move forward. Sometimes that's not going to work, because sometimes people don't really listen. But that's kind of the idea. But the goal is to be kind of so loud and so present that it's difficult to ignore us. And the only way to do that really is to build the community. Build it bigger than it could possibly ever be. And that is the goal. Using the resources that we have, the advertising, the networking that we possibly have, to amplify this platform so that we can get the attention, so that we can get the membership, so that people know that we are here for them. A lot of that is going to be through advertising. A lot of that is going to be through word of mouth. I have ideas on how we can do that. But basically, we want to make sure that everybody knows that we're here and what we're doing. Because if everybody knows, it's harder to ignore, and it kind of forces them to do something about it. Not threatening or anything like that, but more so just pushing towards a more effective future. I think going beyond boycotting, going beyond just protesting, and protesting does help, it can help, but really what it needs to be is let's say, here's what the idea that I would have. We create a petition, something that is maybe through change.org, maybe through something else, but we create a petition, we get signatures for this petition, and then we print it out, actually print it out and give it physically to the people who are going to be the decision makers, the people who are going to be responsible for these changes, and presenting them to it, presenting them with that petition, and having that conversation and negotiating between what has to be changed. Now, what does have to be changed? That is the big question. What does have to be changed? Number one, discrimination. Get that out of here. There should be no industry that discriminates against anyone's gender, race, ability, or anything like that. You could argue in some cases, sure, but at the end of the day, no discrimination, period. There's been many arguments about where women should and should not be, but I think that it's beyond that. Also, ensuring that people who are registered under the registry, the list, shall we say, cannot have jobs or positions of powers involving children. We see that as a problem right now. There are many SOs that are able to hold a job, that are able to be here. Also, I'm realizing that we should probably build ourselves our own Reddit, because I think the more places that we can be, the better. So I think I will probably work on building a subreddit that is separate to that. Basically, the goal is to build every platform possible so that no matter where people go, no matter where people look, they will always see power to survivors. They will always see us. And will be so in their face that they'll be like, okay, what is this? I have an idea, a vision, goals in mind. Potentially at some point, building a social media platform of our own. One that is run by survivors of the industry. One that has the ideas of the survivors, and making sure that their platform is that, and platforming them. That would be kind of the idea. And I think it should go beyond me. I should not always be the 100% decision maker, although I will be in many cases. But I hope that the community is able to voice their opinions, able to shape this into what it can be, and go beyond that. But how can we, as of right now, how can we support survivors? Well, it's pretty simple. Although people don't necessarily think it is. It is pretty simple. And the key is to ensure that we're listening to what they're saying. Listening to what is going on and amplifying their voices. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of fake allies, a lot of sort of false allies that kind of discredit the information that survivors are saying. And that needs to change as well. Essentially, we need to be able to flip the world upside down and completely change everybody's perspective and how they look at things. That's not an easy feat. And it's not going to be easy. But number one starts with building a place that they can actually function in, be in, and really growing this out and ensuring that no matter what happens, it's always survivors first. And I think even with platforms like Alexa's or like ePredators, there can be flaws with it. Because it's one person speaking for the masses with a huge platform. And I don't want that to be this. I think that we need to go beyond that. So I don't think anyone should ever be like one person speaks for everybody. I think that can be harmful in many ways. I also think that what? Let me see. Okay. I think what I want to do right now is actually build that subreddit. Because that's going to be very important. Do we make it restricted for now? No, because I think we make it public because we do want people to find it. We would just really, really relegate. Okay. So I think we do it this way. I mean, these are just placeholders for right now. I will eventually replace these, but I think the way that we help the overall community is we make sure that their voice comes first. That they always have a say, that they are I guess I didn't really need to do that. Okay. think I just realized that okay. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted because I realized that this is kind of important to do, and I want to build this platform so that we have more than one space, and that we don't have to rely on Alexa either. I mean, right now. Okay. Sorry, just a little bit distracted. Community description. Voice back to survive. What else should we do? I think we need... Okay, that was weird. Good. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so then user flare. Okay, so sorry, I got a little distracted. Okay. Okay, that seems pretty good. Sorry. Okay, so I think that's good. Join button. I think that if we make this okay. Okay. I think that's better. Okay, so I think a little bit more. Okay. Okay, save that. Alright, let's do this. And then I'm gonna just do this. Okay, so that is now live. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Basically, I just built a subreddit. That's what I was doing. I mean, it makes sense that we have our own subreddit, so now it's official. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Hi, Princess. That's just one way to support survivors, is that when they say that they have a problem, doesn't matter who the individual is with, against, I think it's important to understand where they might be coming from. I do want to reiterate again, this has nothing to do with Alexa, not to bash on her or anything, but I think some people thought that this was going to be like an adjacent to Alexa, that and I know I kind of pitched it that way initially. There's a lot of changes that have been happening in the background. The original goal was not to build an organization. There was no plan on making this a business or anything. It just kind of fell into place. It just kind of became that. It was complete accident. But yes, now we have absolutely nothing to do with Alexa. We are our own thing. We have absolutely nothing to do with the Predators. The name just came naturally, I think. Maybe we should change our name, but it's a little bit too late for that. But no, I think that, the phrase isn't copyrighted and I think it is also powerful to have the organization name be exactly what we're doing. And so that's what it is. There's no disguising it. And I do plan to build out merch at some point, probably when we actually get funding. Well, actually, more so probably when the branding gets finished. I think it's gonna take a few. Probably, I expect it to take a few days. Like, she just started it, so I imagine it'll take a few days because there's multiple things that were requested. It's also ongoing, or at least I think it will be. I'm using her, the artist that is making our stuff, to kind of get a groundwork going. That way we have like a character, an idea. I may or may not end up changing who we use. I'm basically just using Fiverr. I mean, that's the place where you can find artists quickly. But yeah. Also, I don't really intend to try to spend too much more. I don't want to pour everything that I have. I do have other things that I have to do. But I'm investing a lot of my own money as businesses go. I think that's why crowdfunding is important. Obviously not necessary, not important. That is for me to figure out. But it is helpful. Money is helpful. And that's the truth of it. Money is a very powerful thing. I think we've learned that when you have money, you tend to win. Like with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And we will go through and kind of address all of that. I think what would make sense is to kind of go topic by topic, addressing kind of everything in their own videos, in their own streams, in their own things. Kind of what Alexa is doing. But with us instead. I also think that it gives an opportunity for people to talk about what they really think. What do they think about the doc? What do they think about Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp? What do they think about cases like Britney Spears? And I think also the complexity is that sometimes survivors, sometimes we, have biases that have been built because of our childhood, because of our perspective in life, because of our ways that we go about it. For example, I'm sure that Alexa does have biases. I don't mean to keep bringing her up because I think that was just the first thing that came into my head. But there is a natural bias because she's a child star. She grew up on Nickelodeon. So, of course, there's going to be biases. She saw things that no one else saw. I have biases. I watched Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Disney as a kid. Grew up with it. I grew up with Harry Potter. There's lots of things that I enjoy. And that is the question, right? Do we have to abandon the things that we love in order to support survivors? And I think that's a little bit more of a complicated answer. Because the thing is, in most cases, everything has multiple people involved, right? And this is the thing. If you boycott, let's say, a Harvey Weinstein film, right? You choose not to watch it anymore. The problem is that in those films are his victims, are the people that were hurt by it. And so by not giving residuals, by not consuming that content, it's not really affecting Weinstein when there's multiple people that were involved in the making. I think the best example is One Tree Hill. Because everybody knows about One Tree Hill and the director, the showrunner. And the thing about it is that the reason why it was okay to support One Tree Hill is because those were the victims. Those were the people, like, One Tree Hill was successful in spite of all that. And I think it was important for One Tree Hill to be successful and then go after the director. Because now the people involved have a substantial financial situation in which they are able to then use that financial benefits to go after him. I think when you boycott something that involves multiple people, like even Hogwarts Legacy, what you end up doing is not hurting the individual that you're targeting. You end up hurting the actual people involved in making and producing these things, and it ends up being collateral damage. Like, for example, with Hogwarts Legacy, I understand the reason why people were calling for a boycott. However, it was made very clear that J.K. Rowling had nothing to do with it. She was in part of no creative process in doing so. So if people were to have boycotted Hogwarts Legacy, the only thing that they would really be doing is damaging the studio that's making the product. Also because meanwhile people were still buying the merch, they're still going to Harry Potter World, they're still going to Universal Studios, they're still going to all these things that directly fund J.K. Rowling. So it kind of just negates itself. I also think that there are some things that you can't really fight against. Also because it creates a very dangerous situation where you have people that are just fans of Harry Potter, not J.K. Rowling. You have people like me, people like many YouTubers that probably have no idea about the things that happened on Twitter. Right? No idea about that situation, have nothing to do with that, don't keep up with her, and are just here to enjoy Harry Potter. And I think also the thing about it is it makes it complicated is that Harry Potter in itself has a symbolic meaning that is very meaningful to a lot of communities, like the LGBT, like the minority groups. Now, there is some things to address about that, and the depiction of certain minority groups within Harry Potter that is a little not great. But the thing is that you have to remember is that for a lot of people, these things, these worlds, these products that were created were acted as a safety net for a lot of survivors. Acted as the lifesaver for a lot of survivors. And when you tell them that they can no longer enjoy that they can no longer have that safety, they can no longer enjoy that safety because this person did this thing, I think that sets a very dangerous precedent. I think there are better ways to approach the situation without doing that. Because what happened, and what should not happen, is that those who were playing, anyone who was playing Hogwarts Legacy, anyone that was streaming it, was directly harassed and bullied by those saying not to play it. And all that does is create more animosity, more hate, and resentfulness. It's like the world's strictest parents. When they set the rules, when they say, you can't do this, you can't do that, we're not going to let you do this. What ends up happening? The kids end up rebelling. The kids end up doing things behind their back. The kids end up in dangerous situations that they shouldn't be in. And that ends up, in a lot of cases, what ends up happening is that why do people turn to drugs? Why do people turn to alcohol? Why do people turn into these dangerous things? It's because they're looking for another option. Because you've given them no option. Because you've told them that everything else is not okay. And so their only solution is then, okay, let me turn to this. Now, that might be an extreme. But it does kind of spiral that way. Especially because when we end up turning against ourselves, and meanwhile the people who don't care are like over here not caring at all, and you're directly attacking the people that are a part of the community, that are just doing their best to get by, that are just doing XYZ. All you're doing is destroying the very community that is there. And so meanwhile, the people who don't care, the people that hate you anyways, are thriving, not caring, and you're hurting the very people that you claim to support and love. I think the ones where it happened in the past, because here's the thing that you also have to understand is that a lot of kids shows like Nickelodeon don't have residuals, don't have a lot of profit in general. Like, when you watch it on Nickelodeon, when you watch it on Disney, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really pay for anything. In fact, reruns don't really make too much money. In fact, shows don't actually make too much money. In fact, the biggest money maker for any show, kids show, is toys. Merchandise. That is the only thing that really contributes to the profit margins. That is why every kids show is like, here's a toy that you can buy. Go buy it. Like, there's always an action figure. There's always a Barbie doll. There's always something that you can buy that is related to that show. Because that is where the money comes from. So if anything, if there's anything you should not do, it's buy merch. From anything. For anything. If there is something you truly do not like, that you truly don't want to support, don't buy the merch. That is the big thing. Don't buy the merch. But also, if you already own the merch from like 20 years ago, understand you don't need to burn it. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to get rid of it. Because whatever it is attached to has lost its meaning. It is now the sentimental value for you that is what matters. So I saw people like burning their Harry Potter books or like doing all these things, and she already made her money off of that. She already, like, some people were like buying the merch just to burn it. You realize you're just paying her and wasting your money. You might as well just light your own money out of your wallet on fire. It's like, what does that do? It's like hate comments, right? People don't realize that if you comment anything on a YouTube channel, on a YouTube video, it doesn't matter. All you're doing is boosting their engagement and recognition, and you're just giving them money. You're just allowing them to grow. Wasting energy on commenting on like people you hate, watching things you hate, does not do well. Look at Velma. We are getting a season 2 because so many people hated the show that they watched it, and Max profited off of it. And it might work again because people are going to be like, I hate this so much, I'm going to watch it. That's actually what happened to Batwoman. People don't realize that Batwoman actually didn't fail. It actually did really well. And that's because people watched it when they hated it. I mean, I didn't mind it. I liked it. But people who were complaining about it and people who were like trying to like just destroy it, make it fail, it ended up backfiring because so many people watched it that it actually became one of the most successful Arrowverse shows, at least premieres, first seasons on the entire network. Aside from maybe like Smallville, Arrow, and The Flash. I mean, also aside from like the other like CW shows. That's the thing that you have to understand, is that when you hate something, doing something in spite of a company, to spite a company, does not work. Doesn't work. Because guess what, as a company, we don't look at the data that says, oh, this person hated it, but they bought it anyways. No. There's no data that says that. What they do is they look at it, they see, oh, this was the #1 product of the year. We should sell it again. And that's exactly what is happening, right? Some people bought Hogwarts Legacy just because they wanted to, well, actually, what ended up happening is that people who were campaigning to boycott Hogwarts Legacy only inspired more people to buy it just so that they could spite them. And that worked because Hogwarts Legacy sold probably more than it was projected to do. Probably more than it was expecting to do. And now they're making a Harry Potter reboot series on HBO Max. Because it made money. I think that the thing is with boycotting is that you have to understand that by campaigning for it, you might actually end up being their PR manager. Because the thing that says all publicity is good publicity is kind of true. Not always, but kind of true. As someone who has worked in PR, has kind of done that before, there is no data that says they hated it and they bought it anyways. There's no data that says they hated it and they watched it anyways. There's no data on YouTube. There is no statistic on YouTube that says these are the people that hated it and these are the people that watched it. No. What we see is big spike, small spike. That's all we see. So if you're like, I'm gonna hate watch this, Don't. Don't do that. It does not work. All I see is this thing made money, let's make it again. So that will do the complete opposite of what you're trying to do. The complete opposite. Now, how do we support survivors? That is the question. If not by boycotting these companies, if not by harassing people who just want to play Hogwarts Legacy just because it's fun. I mean, it was a fun game. Yes, I played it. What do we do? I think the answer is more difficult than just tweeting about it, more difficult than just complaining about it. And that is, we actually work to make changes so that it doesn't happen again. And that is not easy to do. People have been trying to do it for years. It has not worked. But what really needs to happen for any of this to do anything is for there to actually be a change. For there to be a change in legislation that prohibits people on the registry from obtaining jobs that have anything to do with kids. And ensuring that the non-discrimination policies are actually non-discrimination policies. And also not allowing companies to do internal investigations. That is always the funniest concept to me. Internal investigations. Yeah, whenever you hear that, they're not investigating anything. That is not a thing. What they do is they look at the people that they are paying and they ask them, hey, did this happen to you? Do you remember this? Like, what happened here? And, they don't need evidence that something happened. They just need evidence that people were okay with it or whatever. Whenever HR is involved, whenever HR is involved in anything, their number one job is to make sure that the company that they are working for does not explode. Because if it did, they would not have a job anymore. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. If the company goes bankrupt, you do not have a job. 1 - 1 = 0. So, your motive in anything, if it's your company that you are working for, you're going to support it. Also, because a lot of companies, especially big ones, have a very powerful influence on whether or not you can get another job anywhere else. And that was the problem with the whole Dan situation, right? Dan would literally say to kid stars, to children, yeah, if you say something, you're not going to have a job in Hollywood ever again. You're not going to be an actor in Hollywood ever again. I'm going to make sure of that. And when you're threatening someone's career, their lifelong goal, the only thing that they know makes them money, and not only that, but they are also being pressured by their parents to make money, to be the money maker, and your boss tells you, okay, you either do this or you're fired and you're never getting a job again. Which option are you going to do? That's why it doesn't help to boycott, because boycotting just doesn't work. It really doesn't. There has been maybe one time in history, well, actually a few times in history, where boycotting has worked. But it was more than just that. It was more than just that. Some people look at, Rosa Parks, looks at the women's suffrage movement, And they think, okay, they boycotted, so if we boycott too, it'll work. But the thing is with that, let me tell you, those protests, those petitionings, those movements started in probably 1900. And it only passed the legislation in 1920. And then even that, we only got better rights in the 2000s. The point being is that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of sacrifice, and it takes a lot of people, generations, to change something like that. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I can live that long. So if we're going to do a change that is actually going to work, we need something that is a little bit more effective than a boycott that takes 200 years for it to actually happen. And that is the sad reality, is that in order to actually show a company that there's actually damages happening because of this, that there's actually negatives happening because of this, you have to do a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Because the thing is, Disney, Nickelodeon, all these companies already have billions of dollars. Not millions, billions of dollars. So if they lose a small million, and it is small to a billionaire, they basically just lost $1. To a billion, people are making a huge big deal because Elon Musk lost I don't know, $20 million of crypto. To him, he only lost $20. You realize that Elon Musk has $200 billion? If you lose 1% of that, are you going to notice? No. You're not going to notice. It's kind of funny because I remember on Family Feud there was one episode, one episode that really stood out. And it was a celebrity episode. So it was all the NFL players. I don't remember which team it was, but it was NFL players. And they were doing Fast Money. And one of the questions was how much would someone be willing to pay to do XYZ? And they were thinking $100. They were thinking $500. Large amounts. And the number one answer was $5. That just shows you that people with lots of money don't really look at things as oh, this is kind of expensive, I wouldn't buy that. No, they just say, hey, I want that, just buy it. There are some people that are so rich, they literally just tell their person to just buy whatever, and they don't care about the price. Those are the people that have the Louis Vuitton bags, the Gucci bags, the Prada whatever. They don't conceptualize how expensive they are. They don't realize how much money that they are spending. Because what they see is their bank account go down 1%. And then they just make that back up by 200%. So for example, that's why Disney can afford all these movies to fail. They don't care if Wish makes money. They don't care if Star Wars makes money. They aren't going to see that difference until like 2060. And that's if all of their projects end up actually failing. And that is a huge if. Because chances are that's not happening. I mean, you're talking about a studio that has gone through 100 years. 100 years of like almost failing and then being a huge success. People don't realize that Disney movies back in the day weren't always successful. Even your favorite movies. Even like the ones that you really enjoy. Not all of them were successful. And it didn't matter because they still got that income. It didn't matter that a lot of the Disney movies failed in the theaters because they made it back in the DVDs. And they made it back by launching this thing called Disney World, called Disneyland. And they made so much money. They made so much money that even if they stopped making a single movie ever again, they would be set for life. The employees, not so much. But then, the executives would be set for life. That's just how it is. That's why damaging the wallet doesn't actually work. That's why boycotting doesn't actually work. Because the only persons you end up actually hurting is people that are on your side. It's people that are just trying to get by. The people that are just trying to get their next paycheck. The people that are just trying to do their job. Like, I can't stress it enough. Please don't harass retail workers. Please don't harass the minimum wage making workers because you hate their company that they're working for. I'm sure they hate it too. I am sure that they would love to have another job. But obviously they can't because they have this one. Like, there's a reason why they have that job. It's not because they were loyal to XYZ. It's not because they're loyal to Disney. It's not because they're loyal to whatever company they're working for. It's because they need to make money. And very little companies are hiring. And it's very difficult to get into a job that you have no experience in. It is difficult because you have to make sacrifices that you are maybe not wanting to do. Like right now, if I wanted a job in like writing, in art, like if I wanted that job, I would have to accept the fact that companies right now are using AI. Companies right now are developing AI, and I would probably be producing material for AI specifically. Even if I'm against AI, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because that's the job that they are offering. And when you have millions of dollars, when you have those rich money, you can choose the jobs and the careers you have. When you have $0 and you have nothing, you can't choose the jobs that you have. You just have to take the jobs that are offered to you. And that is the reality of it. The people that are waitressing, the people that are hosting, the people that you are seeing, they're not making those millions of dollars. They are not in a position in which they can choose not to work for a company that they are working for. Destroying, like, Target stores because you don't like that there is a rainbow on the display doesn't do anything to target. All it does is hurt the workers that are working there and that you are harassing. None of this does anything. You posting a video that goes viral of you harassing a worker or you harassing somebody because of XYZ, whether you are doing it because you're homophobic or because you're doing it because you're trying to make a point, you're trying to make a stance, doing it at a local store does not help. Number one, because the company doesn't even pay attention to that. You think they're sitting around just like watching TikToks and like saying, "Oh, this person didn't like that this happened, so we're gonna make a change and completely change the entire model of the company." No, that is not what happens. Now, sometimes when the internet gets together, they can make numbers go down and they can make numbers go up. But they don't do that by themselves. They do that because they have a reason to. Because, like, if you've ever seen, like, the internet go after somebody who, like, was, like, an asshole, they can do that. I've seen impressive FBI work on the internet in which they track down a person based on, like, 1 second frame, and they're able to find who they are. So it's possible, yes, to find these people. It's possible for the internet to be so unified in their opinion that they will go after that person. But when you have differing opinions, when you have people who have separate ideologies, have different ways of thinking, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated than that. Because some of us, we all want the same thing, I feel like. I feel like a lot of us, even like people on the other sides, want the same thing. We all want to live in a world that is peaceful, that is, well, except maybe like Kim Jong-un. But in a world that, in a world that is like peaceful, unified, like not harassing others, not hateful world in general. And we all want this to be a place where we can all live in. How we get there, what that looks like, those are the differences. To the right-wingers, it's getting rid of anyone that thinks differently from you. Anyone who is not white. And not straight. To the other side, it's being so radical that we don't see our own hypocrisy. And let's not conflate it. This is not a partisan issue. Like, this is not like one party to blame. I think a lot of people like to do that. But if that was the case, things would have changed a while ago. No, it's both parties. It's multiple parties, in fact. It is not red or blue, it is everyone. Because guess what? Every party, every politician, every political organization is a problem. Has problems. We're kind of just choosing the lesser evil. We're choosing what won't destroy us if this person is in charge. I'm not going to get political because that's not what this is about. But if you think Biden... No, I shouldn't say it. If you think Biden is a better choice, It's not. He's not. He's just the choice that is necessary. Because the other choice is just as bad. Probably worse. That's the thing. And there is technically a third option. Sometimes. Like, you can just write somebody in. Or you can vote for the little or third option. But why don't people do that? Why do people settle for the option that is likely to win? It's because we understand that the third option, the other option, usually not enough to actually make that option win. Usually not enough. So really, it's more about being unified in our decisions to ensure that it doesn't happen. That the outcome... Anyways, backtracking a little bit. That kind of goes back to how we can support survivors. And the only way that we can do that is by being unified, being together, and holding strong. And making compromises in order to choose options that are progressive, not radical. Making radical decisions, making like, oh, we're gonna flip this upside down, doesn't work. People don't agree with that. People don't like change, just in general. So telling them that they have to do a whole 180, that they have to completely change everything, that's not gonna work. But what will work is slow, baby steps, small changes, small victories. And here's the thing. And some people might not like this. Making sure that Hogwarts Legacy makes money because it has minority characters, because it has transgender characters, that's more important than trying to spite J.K. Rowling, who has nothing to do with the project. Because when representation wins, when we say this is what we want, and we get more of that, that is more important. When we have more options for safe spaces, when we have more options for safety, that is more important than going after that one person who's an ass. Because also she does not care. She's made that very clear. She doesn't care. She made her money. You're not going to take it from her. The most important thing is watching the films, playing the games that we say are important for us as survivors. Because when we make those things successful, and not hate watch, and not hate play, and not hate buy, guess what's going to happen? People are going to realize that that thing is making money, and they're going to then do that thing. Because the only thing that corporations really care about is what makes them money. They don't care what political party, they don't care. The reason why these companies endorse these people is because that's what makes them money. It's plain and simple. Money talks. And you'll notice some companies are going back on the representation that they've done. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of clothing companies have stopped making extended sizes. Plus sizes. A lot of companies have stopped making petite sizes too. A lot of companies have stopped making the things that they said they were making to represent these people. Why? Because it didn't make them money. Because people showed that they talk, but they don't really buy. they don't really do anything. So you can talk all you want. You can say whatever you want. But the only thing that is loud enough for companies to care about is money. So that's why the goal is not to cancel. The goal is not to take down. The goal is to show companies, these entities, that doing this, helping survivors, making these changes is what's going to make you money. And the only way to do that is to show up in numbers. And do things in numbers. Because the internet is very capable of doing so. It literally brought GameStop back to life when it was about to go bankrupt. If the internet can do that, can keep GameStop alive, imagine what they can do when they actually do something useful. In fact, I do know this. So many people showed up to vote that is why we have the president that we have. So when we do show up in numbers, it does work. One person is not going to make a difference. You burning a Harry Potter CD collection is not going to do anything. But showing up in numbers, showing people, wearing t-shirts and showing people that we're everywhere, all over the world, that we're not in just one place or one country or one... When they see that it's a worldwide thing, that this is like millions of people, that is when they will listen. That is how we help survivors. Listening to their stories, listening, not trying to disprove it, not trying to take away their voice, listening to what they say is important, and also acknowledging that yes, survivors can be a problem. Survivors can be the very thing that they fought, that they are traumatized by. It happens a lot. Not everyone, not everything, but it's very common for the victim to become the perpetrator. Why? Because we didn't believe them, and we didn't show them that it was wrong, and all that did was solidify that I can do this and I can get away with it. That's how we end up with the cycle of this person went through this and now they are doing this exact same thing to another person. Because they were told that there was nothing wrong with what happened to them. They were told nobody believes them. They told nothing wrong happened. They told nothing will happen to this person that did this to you. And that is why we have this huge cycle of victim to perpetrator. Now, when a survivor comes forward and they have done something, it's important that we still listen to them. It does not excuse what they have done. It does not mean that we have to accept or forgive them for what they did. But it is still important to listen to them. And that is the thing that I need people to understand when it comes to Drake Bell. When it comes to these things. When it comes to Leonardo DiCaprio. When it comes to people, there's a reason also why that they tend to do this. It's a psychological thing. Because the person that hurt them was an older person yes, they're going to be more inclined to be with younger people because they were showed that the dangerous person is the older one. Now, I think it's a little bit more complex to say how we can fix that because a lot of it is psychological. A lot of it depends on the individual. That's why not every survivor turns into that. But I think the thing is that we need to do is accept that you can be both wrong and right at the same time. There is this idea that you either have to be completely guilty or completely innocent. And that is not true. No one is that way. I have done things that I'm not proud of. You have done things that you're not proud of. It's just a fact. And if we say that anything that you do that is wrong then negates the very things that have happened to you, that is a very, very dangerous precedent to set. And it that is what will keep survivors from sharing their stories. Because there could be many survivors that have done things that they're not proud of, that have done things that they regretted, or that have done things that were not okay. And now they're thinking, shit, if I tell my story now, no one's going to be on my side. So by saying this, I'm not only tearing down the walls of the people that I'm going after, but I'm also still not having anyone on my side. Two things can be true. Drake Bell can be guilty of the things that he's accused of. And we can admit that what happened to Drake Bell was really fucked up and should never happen again. Saying that what happened to Drake Bell is really effed up and it should never happen again does not mean that you are clearing him of all charges, does not mean that you're saying we should, do this and that. All it means is none of it should happen again. None of it should happen. In fact, the fact that Drake Bell might be guilty of what happened to him shows exactly what the problem is. And shows exactly what we need to fix. And that is how we react to these situations. Because the reason why people like Drake Bell end up doing those things is because they were literally told what happened to you was okay. What happened to you, there was nothing wrong with what happened to you. That no one cares. If you're Drake Bell and you're in that courtroom and you see everyone supporting the person that hurt you, that did those things to you, saying actually he it wasn't that bad, or it couldn't have been that bad, or actually he's not guilty, or like saying that, even if that happened, it's okay. If you're Drake Bell and you see that, what part of that tells you this is wrong? This is really wrong. Or do you look at that and say, maybe I'm mistaken? Maybe what happened to me was not bad? It feels wrong, but I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe what happened was all in my head. That's the thing that's been being pushed for so long, is it's all in your head. It's all what you feel like. It's not actually wrong. It's not that bad. It's not true. And when you do that for so long, the people you're telling it to start to believe it. And they start to think, oh, okay. So if this person did that to me and that was okay, then I should be okay doing this to this person. And the thing about it is that if you look at what happened with Drake Bell, or at least the accusations that came out, he didn't go as far as what happened to him. He didn't go that far. And so for his logic, it's like, well, that happened to me, and that was okay. So if I do this, then that's not as bad, and people won't care. And I won't be, like, guilty of anything, or anything like that. So when we allow these people to get away with all these things, when we allow Brian Peck to continue having a job in Hollywood, when we allow Blizzard to still function as a studio despite all these things, when we allow these CEOs, these people in power, to stay in power after these things come out, like Bill Gates, that's where we end up creating the cycle and telling people, it's okay, you can do that, it's not that bad. And that's where we end up in a cycle. And to destroy that, because that's what we need to do essentially, is take down that, stop that cycle, tell people, no, that's not okay. That's a lot harder to do, because we've dug a hole so big that it came out on the other side, and now we have a circle. We just have this big circle of, we said it was okay, and so this person then did this, and now we're saying it's, like, not okay, but we're not really showing it. To know also that Brian Peck doing what he did only ended up with the sentence that he got, that also doesn't help. Because people can kind of weigh the crime and the punishment and be like, you know, if I speed, I'm only going to get a fine. So even if I get pulled over, it still won't be that bad. Or, if I run through that red light, I'll get a ticket, like, through this camera. But I'm not going to go to jail. Or, if I skip school, all that's going to happen is I get an F, and I'll still be okay because I can get away with a B, or a C, or D. Like, I can still do this and pass. I can drink underage and probably not get caught, but even if I do, it's just going to be like a slap on the wrist. That's how you get to people justifying how they can do that. Because they're like, well, I could either fulfill my urge and satisfaction, or I could just face, like, 17 months in jail. And yeah, I might get put on the registry for it, but I'll still have a job. I'll still be able to work. I'll still be able to find somewhere to I still have friends. I still have networks. I still have, like, I'm pretty good. I won't actually face any penalties from doing this. That is where we get to that. And I know we are looking at it like, how could anyone even think about doing this? And that is a good question. Like, I know a lot of us were like, I could never. Never, ever. But you're thinking in the perspective of you, who is hopefully a good person, or at least hopefully a sane person, right-minded person. But you're not thinking in the mindset of the manipulators, the predators, the ones who are more likely to do that. You're not thinking of how our actions, how our behaviors, how our reactions are forming their opinion. Because not only are survivors looking and seeing if it's okay for them to like share their stories, but guess who else is watching? The people thinking about doing it. They're watching and they're going, huh, well, he only got like, I don't know what, a year in prison? And he still got a job after that? Damn. Maybe if I do that, it won't be that bad. Maybe it won't be that bad. So yes, it's important for us to make changes. And that's what this organization is about. That's the ultimate goal, is to be able to show these companies, show these people that this is not okay, and to show that we are here in numbers, and that if you do that, we will actually affect your company. Not through boycotting, but through our wallets. Well, through showing what is most valuable to you. Because the real way to get people to listen is to actually show them where it hurts. And making sure that they can't have a job when they leave. I know right now there are some things that you do that will make it harder for you to get a job. But then there's other things that you can do and it won't really affect your career. Also because a lot of companies aren't able to discriminate against people with a criminal record. And in some cases that is helpful, because in some cases people are in jail for the wrong reasons, or some people are in jail because of maybe laws that shouldn't be in place. Or maybe it's very complicated, because it's not like, I'm not saying that the crime that they did is not as bad or anything like that. But there are differences in crimes sometimes. Like the intent versus the outcome. And there are people who have good intentions and get caught up in bad situations. And there are people that have bad intentions and get caught up in good situations. And not only that, but a lot of the people that end up doing these things are in positions of power, or in positions that they won't lose. Think about how long Dan Schneider has been a showrunner, producer on Nickelodeon. And nothing he ever did, not one thing, caused him to get fired. And thanks to Dan's helpful apology, we know that there was no repercussions for anything that he ever did. Allegedly. According to him, he was never banned on set. He was never asked to leave. According to him, he was never fired. Never fired. According to him, they left on mutual terms. According to him, they left on good standings. Even after everything. That is the mindset of these people. They think, oh, well, nothing ever happened to me. I was never given detention. I was never sent to the principal's office. I was never fired. I was never terminated. I never got any punishment. So what I did must have not been that bad. No one said anything. No one did anything. So how was I supposed to know that was bad? How was I supposed to know that that should not have happened? How was I supposed to know when no one says anything? when everyone enables it? How is they supposed to know? How are they supposed to know? I think the only thing that we can do is make it very clear that, no, if you do this, you're not getting a second chance. Because that does work. Unfortunately, it affects the wrong people. Because there are instances where someone will get in trouble and they'll say, you'll never work a job in Hollywood. You will never have a job. And you will get blacklisted and you will get exiled. And it's usually those who are trying to speak up against these companies. Those are the ones that get hurt. Those are the ones that get punished. Like how the writer was saying she got fired because she tried to sue the company. Because she showed that she was no longer loyal, no longer complacent in their agendas. That's the person that got punished. Not the person in charge, not the people on top, not the people who did the harassment, the person who complained. The person who had no money to go after them. And in many cases, money does make a difference in whether you win or lose. That's how you don't need to win the case, you just need a really good lawyer. You don't need to be completely innocent or completely guilty. You just need a really, really good lawyer. Like the Kardashians. You know what I mean. You know what I'm referring to. If the glove doesn't fit, it can't possibly be him. Even though it did. Oh, it's just such interesting logic. Even though he fled across the state. Even though he ran so far that everybody was filming him and noticing that he fled. Even though he had a getaway car and everything. No, the glove does not fit. I'm just noticing that there's like Jane Goodall on my search bar. I don't know why. It's my ADHD. When did you get there? I don't know why. Maybe it's for like the April Fool's thing or something. But like, there's literally Jane Goodall and a sloth on my search bar. On my Windows search bar. Is that like a thing? Is it a birthday or something? Sorry. Yeah, I have ADHD, so I get distracted sometimes. I think also the problem is that some people like to compare crimes, like, oh, this person only killed like one person, or this person killed like 10 people. And I mean, yeah, that often affects like sentencing and everything, but like sometimes people are like, well, he didn't murder anyone, he didn't kill anyone, so what's the problem? No, there's literally, I didn't even put her there. Why is she here? Oh, it is her birthday, that's why. Oh, I see. It's it's like a like Google. I think this has to do with the calendar. Okay, well, happy birthday, Jane Goodall. Damn, she's 90 years old. That's crazy. She's 90 years old and not retired. Damn. I mean, she loves what she does. So. Um, this is what I mean. Like, social media and these things are built for people with neurodiversity problems. Like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, they're all. That's the thing, though. Also, because there's such things as predatory products, and they're not necessarily a bad thing. It just like kind of capitalizes on people's weaknesses or things that they've got going for them. Like, social media is literally built for those with ADHD. You wonder why everyone on social media and the internet has ADHD or some sort of like neurodiverse problem. It's because it acts like one of those, like, you know, like fly traps that attract the flies to go stick to it. Like those like sticky things. Yeah, that's that. Social media is that for ADHD people. Like, because like scrolling paralysis and everything, and it's just a thing. If you think I'm lying, look up. I think there's actually articles on it. There's like things about like social media and the psychology of like making it. Like, that's why Vine was so popular, because it was only like 6 seconds or whatever. And that's also the thing that companies do, is they make something seem cheap. They make something seem like, oh, this is not expensive at all. And then suddenly you've given them like millions of dollars. Like microtransactions. That's something that people tried to boycott against and tried to hate. But the thing is, people still bought them. Those mobile transactions that people complain about, yeah, they still bought them, so they still made the company like millions of dollars. I think the companies know what they're doing. They know exactly what to feed you in order for you to stay. They know that, yeah, you might have a problem with what they're doing right now, but if they just release a Toy Story 5, you'll still watch it. Why do you think Disney bought all the things that they bought? Like, it wasn't cheap to buy Star Wars. It wasn't cheap to buy Marvel. But now they own all of what you love, all of what you enjoy. And are you really going to sacrifice the things that you love, the things you grew up with, just because they did this like one thing? Just because they hired Brian Peck after he was convicted? No, you're not going to do anything because you love them so much. There's a reason why people acquire these properties. And it's not always because they're valuable. They don't always make money off of it. But they see an opportunity to own something. The perfect example is the game Monopoly. When you need a property to win the game, what do? You'll trade everything to get that property. You'll trade your whole cash, everything you have, just to get that property so that you can win. Doesn't matter how much it costs. All that matters is that it lets you win the game. That's real life. Monopoly's based off of real life. It's based on a real concept, which is it actually has a kind of a funny story on how that ended up transpiring. I don't know if people ever looked up the origin of Monopoly, but essentially what was a game became a reality. I won't get into the origins of Monopoly, but if you're interested, there's like whole ass articles about it. Like game theory articles about it. It also depends on like how far you go back. Like, for example, it's very well known that Walt Disney, the person, was a Nazi sympathizer and supported Hitler. It was literally in their like videos and everything. Like, back in the like when they did those old cartoons, there was literally propaganda for Nazis. Are we then going to say, oh, Disney, Disney as a whole is now a Nazi sympathizing company? No. Because it was just one person. So I don't think we have to take down the entire companies. I think we just have to go after the people that are actually the problem. You can still have a company, because the thing about companies is there are a lot of people. There is a lot of people working in a company. In a Fortune 500 company, there's thousands of employees. Thousands of employees. And they all get affected by you boycotting them, by you refusing to buy their products. And the ones who end up losing are the ones who get laid off first. And the ones who get laid off first are the ones who make the least amount of money. Not the executives. Sorry, but Kathleen Kennedy is not going anywhere. Even if she completely butchered the Star Wars universe by her decisions. I know, I'm hurt by it too. It's very painful to know that she's still making Star Wars content and still in charge of it, even after the butchery that she did. But she's not getting fired anytime soon, and you just kind of have to accept that. It's like the other Dan Schneider, not Dan from Nickelodeon, but Dan from Washington. They didn't say, hey, let's delete the whole team, although maybe they should have. They said, just get rid of the owner. And they did. Because he was bad. So, you don't have to destroy entire companies. You don't have to destroy entire franchises, entire industries. You just have to take the bad apples out. Because despite what the saying says, bad apple just spoils the entire bunch, it doesn't really actually do that. If you get rid of it soon enough, it won't actually destroy the whole batch. If you let it sit there and rot and fester, that's where it spoils the whole bunch. That's where it spreads around the entire company. Because guess what? If the person in charge is the bad apple, they're gonna continue to hire and train and teach people how to replicate what they are doing. And I'm sure Dan Schneider, Nickelodeon, taught people what to do, how to run a show, how to take control, how to navigate these legal problems that you might have. And so, especially with Dan Schneider being there for so long, you end up with a whole bunch of people that are the problem. The writers that let it happen. The writers that even wrote the stuff that we see in the shows. Because it wasn't just Dan. I mean, sure, they were paid to do it. But some of those, I'm sure, were not necessarily proposed by Dan. Some of those were probably included by the writers themselves, who are coming up with the jokes and dares. Because, I mean, as Dan says, he was not the only one coming up with dares. It was a whole room of people. Adults were there. Parents were there. Coming up with all these ideas. It's so crazy that he had T-Bone interviewing T-Bone interviewing him. Why did he think that was a good idea? Why did he think that was a good idea? He couldn't have gotten, like, I don't know, like a Fox reporter to interview him, like Tucker Carlson or something. He couldn't have gotten, like, that. He had to go for someone that he hired. And he uploaded it on his channel. That's even crazier. Like, imagine if it was, like, posted on, like, CNN or something, or, like, then people would be like, okay, at least he's, like, trying. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if, like, Dan actually agreed to be on, like, Fight on Set, or agreed to be on, like, Eat Predators podcast? He would never. That'd be funny, though. That would be so weird. I don't even know if I would want that to happen. I mean, it would be something to watch. That's the thing, though. These people don't really want to be confronted. I don't think I've seen that one. It's really funny knowing that the voice of Rex is from one of his producers of the show. Because remember all those, like, blooper episodes, especially the ones where, like, they were interviewing, like, the cast members, like, I mean, we know that was all scripted because they were literally playing their characters. But you also have to think, that's really weird. That's so weird. Put it in the Discord. Only because I think YouTube might delete it automatically. But I think that that's the thing, though. Dan is never going to be held accountable for that. Because he's never going to want to interview with anybody. Oh, yes, that's what I was saying. It's really weird when you think about the blooper episodes. Because you know all of that was scripted. Except for maybe the actual bloopers. But it's also interesting to see how many times in those blooper episodes Dan shows up. or something Dan happens. And it's always like this, like, ha ha ha, everyone's laughing. It's like I said, I think, in one of the live streams or something, when, it's kind of, I said it during when we were watching, Eat Predators podcast in the Discord, it's really weird when the company that made the thing makes like a documentary or docuseries or a commentary or something like behind the scenes. Because every time it's scripted. It is scripted. Because it's not like they're going to be like, this place was a horrible place to work with. I hated it every second of my life. No. Or they're not going to say like, oh, this person was an a-hole. This person was like this and that to me. They like SA'd me. No. They're going to just praise each other and say, this was a wonderful experience and I could never have had a happier time working on it. Like the 20-year Harry Potter thing. Which, by the way, it's... I'm still thinking about how that basically, like, a third of the documentary was focused on Tom and Emma's relationship. Not relationship. Even though both of them have now very much moved on. They're dating two different people. That's kind of weird. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? That's so weird. It's like it's trying to get people to ship them again. It has been 20 years. It's actually been longer than 20 years. It's actually been more than 20 years. It's kind of impressive to say that I can now say that I'm over 2 decades old. I actually have this funny thing where I always insert years before old. It's a bad habit because sometimes I'm like, this person is like 1 month years old. Doesn't even make any sense. I mean, at least from what I've heard, I don't know. It seems like some child stars had a decent time. Like, they weren't that. So it's not everyone. And I think when you look at the people that didn't go through that, they actually ended up pretty fine. It's usually the people that did go through that ended up going crazy or insane, doing drugs or distancing themselves from the brand. Because that's the only way that you get away. The only way to escape sometimes is to make them hate you and force them to say, I don't want to do this anymore. I think we also have to realize that anything we do will not have an immediate change. I also think that's the thing that I hate the most is the media and the paparazzi and that culture, the TMZ culture that has been set. The clickbait, the drive my story type thing. And I remember, I think it was even was it in the documentary? Did she say it then? I think it was in an interview when Emma Watson was talking about how when she turned 18, on her birthday when she went out, paparazzi upskirted her. Like on her 18th birthday. I don't remember if that was in the documentary or if that was just a separate interview. It was in the documentary. Oh yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't because it was with Deathly Hallows. I think. Is that when she turned 18? I think it was Deathly Hallows Part 2 was when she turned 18. So yeah, or Part 1, one of them. One of the Harry Potter movies. I think she was 18 in. But that also, I don't remember if you guys remember the dialogue surrounding Emma Watson. But it was always like, it was weird because like the third movie, when everyone like grew up but they were still teens, there were people literally like in love with Emma Watson, like people who shouldn't be, people who were saying, oh, how pretty she is, oh, how mature she looks, like how she's grown, and commenting on her body, and like and then as she grew older, they were like, let's follow her around until she turns 18, and now it's okay to like her because now she's an adult. Yeah, that's grooming. Even if she was not even if she was not in the room, even if she was like never gonna talk to you, that's still grooming. I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize that behavior, like following like a child star until they turn into an adult and then going after them because now they're legal, yeah, that's still bad. Just because you didn't do it to like a person that you were physically with doesn't mean you didn't do it. And yeah, you might be the only person who knows about that. But if you're like Ashton Kutcher, who's like with Hilary Duff, like, oh, just wait until she turns 18. She was 18 during Half-Blood Prince. Yeah, it was definitely in the documentary then. And the fact that also that there was like Rule 34 of characters that are not 18 and are based off of real people. Aged up, as they say. Aged up. That's just... that, and also using their likeness and creating explicit images. Even if it's like supposed to be that character they're portraying. It does cross a gray area though. Because, I mean, a lot of people, what they say is, oh, this is Hermione, or this is like the fictional character, or whatever. But the only reason why they look like that is because of the actress or actor that played them. Like, otherwise they wouldn't look like that. If you were making Hermione, wouldn't you want it to be more accurate to the book? Because I think every Potter fan knows that what was in the movies is not what they look like in the books. So I don't think I buy the excuse of, oh, it's a fictional character. No, you made that based on Emma Watson. Therefore, it's not a fictional character. It is that person. It's like saying, it's like making like an image of like Alexandra Daddario and saying, oh, I was making Annabeth Chase. No, you weren't. What? Now, if you're making Annabeth Chase, she would be blonde. It's just so weird. There's also some people who will like put real people's face on fictional characters. Like, for example, Baldur's Gate 3. I know that there is a mod in which it puts Jennifer English's face, the person who played the Shadowheart and mocap for her, as the face of Shadowheart. Which, even though she did do the mocap for her, is still kind of weird. Because, like, like, deep faking real people onto fictional characters. That's really weird. That's really, really weird. And the thing is, they always justify that reason for that. Why they have those images, why they have those things. And no, it's not cheating, you know. Oh yeah, I have a girlfriend, but it's not cheating because, you know, it's not like they're real people. This is a blow-up doll. Just images, just pictures. It's so weird. I think the problem is that society in general has normalized a lot of behavior and a lot of excuses to the point where no one sees what's wrong with it. No one sees what's wrong with putting a real person's face on a naked body without their permission. It is 11:20 a.m. I'm in Virginia. I'm actually about to probably end it, but yeah. I think as a closing thought, I think, again, kind of think the most important thing that we can do and the most effective thing that we can do is show up in numbers. Is grow the channel. And just in general, be bigger. Because if we're so big that we cannot be ignored, that everywhere you go is, you see that. You see this like name pop up. It's like when you're like on YouTube Shorts and you cannot escape this like one YouTube Short person, even if you find them very annoying because it keeps recommending you it. Yeah, that's what we're basically do. That's our goal, basically, to be that person that is so annoying that it always shows up in the feed and cannot be ignored. You can't just hit don't recommend the channel because it will still pop up. That's the point where I want to get. If we get there, that's when we can start making a change. Absolutely. We get that amount of power, that ability to be there and be seen beyond predators, beyond Alexa, like beyond anything. Like, that's why it's important for us to not be affiliated with anyone, and to remind people that no, we're not affiliated with predators, because it is bigger than that. Way bigger than that. And we have to be bigger than that. And we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I know. I do that too first. Actually, the funny part is the reason why it's that is because apparently you can't have the word power in an LLC. Didn't know that. So yeah, I mean, I hope I don't get sued for that. But I mean, it is nothing related to PS2, so I think I'll be okay. It's pretty easy to get to, though. Hopefully people don't mix that up. That's why I think yeah. It's kind of funny. Also, just in general, the next steps, I'm working on solidifying the brand mascot. We'll see what that name ends up being. I think we still need a vote on that. I think also we need to get big enough to where we can have our own domain and link. Because as much as I like putting DC 4 or 5 whatever, it is a lot easier if you just have a name or URL. But that does cost money. And I'm not willing to pay that until we actually get funding. So we'll see. We will get there. And that's also why I don't want to pressure anyone into actually donating. Because it'll grow itself. Like, if people are here and wanting to support it, people will be willing to support it. Like, and so that's my main priority right now, is really just getting numbers. People. I don't need money. I mean, I do need money. It would be very helpful. But the big thing is just people. That's why I'm making like even X. I just deleted Twitter. I don't know if you guys know this, but I deleted Twitter. Like, I think, when did I actually delete it? I think in February. And I had to reinstall the app again, because I was like, oh yeah, I should have an X account, because that would be important. Because yes, you do have to be on the platforms that you hate, because you still need to be noticed. It's like you do need to listen to the people that you don't like, because that's important too. And picking and choosing who you listen to based on how you feel about them, that is not where you make a change. I absolutely want to do like physical outreach. I was actually thinking about it, because what I want to do at some point is make merch, but not just any merch, but it was like, say, Power to Survivors, but then on the back it would have like a little like QR code, and people could scan it and join the server there, or join the brand. And you can, the funny thing about QR codes is that you can set it up so that you can always change where it goes to. So, like, let's say we started with a Discord server, but then let's say we pivoted to a website. I could just change the QR code and it would change like where it would go to. And I do want to make like business cards that also have like QR codes. Like, I'm going to do all of that once I get the merch. I mean, not the merch, the branding. Once I get the branding, my plan is to make all types of like resources, like brand resources that you can use to like pass out pamphlets, pass out brochures, like give out, and just kind of do it that way. And things that, yes, you will have to buy, or things that you'll have to have a printer for. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe not a brochure. I don't think people really like brochures. The thing is, brochures will be helpful in explaining like the movement and everything. The only thing is that most people just throw them away. And I know this because I did that. Whenever I get like a brochure or a flyer from like the career fairs or job fairs or whatever, no, well, really the campus fairs, I would just throw it all away. I would keep the shirts and the pins and everything, but the brochures, yeah, I'm not reading that. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's still worth having that information though. And looking into also doing college outreach, because that's a huge thing. I don't want to advertise to kids. I don't want this space to be for kids or confused for kids, because this is very much an adult space, very much adult topics. Like, not NSFW, but definitely the demographic is 18 and older. Like, I would say the demographic for this brand is probably like 18 to like 40. Not saying that older people can't be survivors, but that's probably the general range of what like this is for. But yeah, absolutely. I know there's ways you can make like QR codes and then just like change like the where it goes to. Because I've done it before, actually. What did I do it for? I think I did it for in one of my marketing classes. Not in my MBA, but in my bachelor's during that. I don't know. I mean, I would just say like the demographic is really just 18 and up. Maybe like the cutoff is 50, really. I don't know. How old is Alexa? No, just kidding. I mean, anyone can be a survivor. And I think that we will be surprised as to the ages that we'll end up attracting. I just think it's really important that we don't attract kids, because, and even like 17-year-olds, because I think we've learned that having minors in adult spaces is not a good idea. Just in general, not a good idea. And even though that might be the more profitable way, it wouldn't be what this organization is for. And yes, there can be kid survivors. There can be survivors that are minors. There absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of the times when the trauma sets. But here's the thing. And this is why I think it's more important for us to target adults, is because if kids are very observant. They learn very quickly. If they see adults wearing all this, being there, saying that this is not okay, saying this is what we need, they see adults doing that, they'll follow. They don't need a space for that. They just need to see the role models, the people that are out there for them. Because just like Drake Bell was looking into the courtroom and looking to see who was on his side, Kids are doing that too. Every kid does that. Every kid looks and sees, oh, this uncle is my favorite because he's always with me. He's always doing the fun, cool things. Like, it's important to solidify that this is the only way that we can make a new normal is by making it normal. It will take a long time for it to happen, but it starts with one step. And that is where we'll end it. Because I'm about to make a Neil Armstrong joke. And I'm not no. I mean, it is one step for all mankind. Anyways, that'll be it. One giant leap. Peace out, guys. It's been a blast. I'll see you guys around.